on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the newest Richard Linklater movie currently out on Netflix. The movie Hitman, starring Glenn Powell. I am incredibly excited to talk about this movie. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Let's dive into this, shall we?
Modern Movie Review.
Okay, so right off the bat, I am going to issue a spoiler warning. I will admit I'm not going to get to any of the deeper spoiler stuff until later in the video, so probably around 4 or 5 minutes. But that being said, I'm going to issue a minor spoiler warning here, a major spoiler warning there. Okay. But right off the bat, to give my spoiler-free review, I do want to go ahead and say this movie was incredibly entertaining. If you were a fan of Glenn Powell, this just helps cement the fact that he is incredible. I think that of every movie or acting performance he has to his name right now, this is the one that shows the most range. He plays a character that is kind of playing other characters, and it does such an interesting job of creating this great opportunity to just showcase how talented he truly is. Because he plays the character of Gary Johnson incredibly well, and then he also plays the character of Ron really well. And then as you'll learn throughout the movie, there's other characters that he's kind of playing here and there. And I think that he just does such a really good job of being the different version of what people expect when they see a hitman. And I really, really love the way that they dive into that side of the story, because the opening sequence or whatever, they talk about how hitmen aren't things that actually exist. It's just something that's been in every movie and every TV show, and for so long people have talked about it in the media, so everybody assumes that hitmen are things that actually exist. And so their goal is to pretend that they are hitmen or whatever, and go around and just kind of talk people into confessing that they want to kill somebody, but they can't do it themselves, so they're paying somebody to do it, and then eventually arresting them because they wanted to kill somebody. And the way that they set up this movie is incredible, and I love the way that we have Glenn Powell's character is a psychology teacher, which is just so fitting for a character who is trying to get inside the mind of other people, trying to understand why they want to kill these people in the first place. And then on top of that, once he does get better into his job or whatever, he starts to kind of connect with the people, understand who they are as a person, understand what they expect the hitman to look like in their idea of what a hitman is, and then he'll dress up as specific costumes to kind of make his job a little bit easier. And I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of individual lines in this movie that I think are great. One of the specific ones that happens earlier in the movie is his character, he'll be talking something interesting about this movie. On a little side note, he narrates the movie a lot, which I really, really enjoy. But this line specifically that I really liked is he was always too shy to do theater in high school, but now he finally found the right stage for himself. And I loved that. That line was fantastic. And the fact that it does a really good job showcasing, this guy's a psychology teacher. He's been teaching stuff about how humans react to certain things and how the human brain works, and all kinds of interesting psychology stuff. And now he's getting to use his work that he's been doing for the last 6 years of his life and actually put it into practice. And I really, really like the fact that obviously he's good at connecting with people, because that's what he's been studying his entire life. That's what he teaches people at the school that he works at. And it's just very entertaining. And I think overall, Glenn Powell just does an absolutely brilliant job with this role. I think that, like I said earlier, probably his best acting performance to date, and it's a really good acting performance. I did really enjoy that. I also want to give credit where credit's due. All of the side actors and actresses also do a really good job. Fun little comedy duo with his little team that he works with at the precinct that he works at. Fun kind of villain that's kind of like a police officer who's a little bit corrupt, who's kind of a shitty person. His name is Jasper. That actor, don't know his name, but he did a really good job in this. I think this is the first thing I've ever seen him in. And then I'm gonna butcher her name, so I'm gonna put it up on the screen, but it's Adriana. Yep, I already did it. It's Adria Arjona or something like that. She's fantastic in this, and the chemistry between her and Glenn Powell is palpable. It is incredible. It is really, really good. What's it called? The movie, in my opinion, started off a little slow because if you've seen the trailers, you basically know this movie's going to essentially be a rom-com, and her character doesn't get introduced until maybe 25-30 minutes into the movie. And once she gets introduced, automatically everything starts ramping up immediately, and it becomes an incredibly fun movie. I think that overall the comedy in this movie is absolutely excellent. I think that the romance side of this movie is absolutely incredible. And I said this on my little Letterboxd review when I made this movie. When I made a movie review for this. I think that this might be one of the best rom-coms that has came out in the last 4 or 5 years. In my opinion, it is the best rom-com that I've seen since the movie Set It Up, which came out in 2018, which also, interestingly enough, starred Glenn Powell. I think that Glenn Powell just needs to continue doing rom-coms because the man is absolutely killing it. But overall, really, really enjoyed this movie. I think that the love story and everything worked. But now I'm going to try to kind of get into a little bit more of the spoiler stuff to really dive into why I really enjoyed this movie, and specific acting notes and just specific little direction notes that I think were really interesting. And I also want to give credit where credit's due to the screenwriters, because I didn't know this. Glenn Powell himself actually co-wrote this movie, which I was not aware of. But that being said, issuing a spoiler warning, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend going onto Netflix, clicking on it, watching the entire video, and then maybe coming back to this video later. But now to dive into some of my favorite stuff. The romance in this movie is absolutely incredible, and something that I like about this movie is it's rated R, and you would expect it to be rated R for violence because it's a movie called The Hitman, and you don't really see a whole lot of violence. There's one individual scene towards the end of the movie where you do kind of see somebody die, and it's a little rough, but for the most part, the rated R stuff is actually all like sex scenes and like love scenes and stuff like that, and I think I did see one of the most like cinematically beautiful sex scenes I've seen in a really long time, and it's something that's kind of weird to talk about because I feel like recently in the last like 4 or 5 years, they've really tried to like dial this stuff down. It's like they're only going to have sex scenes in movies if the movie is something like 365 or it's something like the 50 Shades of Grey movies. And like on the one hand, I understand why they're only doing it for movies that are literally meant to be explicitly sexual movies, but at the same time, the way that they filmed the sex scenes in this movie and the way that they show the two main characters kind of like coming together and having this intimacy towards each other and just having this overall passion is just insanely well done. And something that I really like about it is it does a really good job of showcasing how Glenn Powell is pretending to be someone else when he is with this girl, and he really likes that version of himself, and he's kind of making a new version of himself, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of movies like Fight Club, where like people have multiple personalities, and it's like, here's the version of him that's normal and is kind of like a regular everyman, and then here's the version of him who's like really tough and cool, and he's, you know, more confident, and he can do stuff that the other version of him doesn't think he can do. And I like the fact that they really dial that up, and I think that, once again, Glenn Powell is playing multiple different characters in this movie, and he does such an excellent job with it, that it's like, even though like his hair is completely different, his facial expressions are completely different, he low-key does actually kind of feel like a different character from time to time, and I liked that. I thought that that was really interesting, and overall, I just think it's really cool. Something that I really like about him, something that I really like about this movie. And to go back to I'm gonna go back to the cinematically sexual thing because I completely like missed one of the most important parts about that specifically. The way that scene was constructed, like I mentioned earlier, Glenn Powell does a lot of narration throughout this movie. He is teaching his class or whatever, and he is going over like passion and some of the things that people do because it's just human nature, and how human nature, they need to have certain emotions, they have certain things that they can't really control. It's kind of like human instinct, right? And there's talking about passion and like certain things that like as a human you just can't resist, and meanwhile that's being interwoven with classical music in the background, which I thought was a fantastic touch, and then just scenes of them like making love, and it's very beautifully well shot. I think that it's not something that's just like there to like throw in a sex scene so people can be like, oh my god, this movie has a sex scene in it. And I really like the fact that it was very thought out, it was very deliberate, it was very well directed, and I loved that. I thought it was very well choreographed, and I think that it was just like overall an incredible sequence that's right there. And then like I mentioned though, I really like the way that they show them falling deeper and deeper into love, because they're entire relationship is kind of built on a couple of lies, and you can see that like as they're kind of like getting a little further into the relationship and they're starting to have a couple of like the bumps in the road that you expect to see in rom-coms, they're still kind of like going over the top for each other because they're just that passionate about each other, and they have that like link and that connection where they were just making out a couple of days ago. So yeah, they're gonna do some like batshit crazy things because they think that they're obsessed with this person and the other person thinks that they're obsessed with them. And I think that it does a really good job of showcasing how love can kind of make you turn a blind eye to certain things, and it makes you do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And it kind of like brings like to light like the being crazy in love kind of like stereotype. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. What's it called? Once again, I'm gonna throw her name up on the screen because I don't know how to pronounce it. The main actress absolutely kills her role. You cannot tell if she's a psycho bitch or if she's like actually somebody who's in danger or like what's going on with her character. And when she eventually goes and she kills her husband in the movie, it's shocking. It's great. I wish I didn't see the trailer because I will admit, since I had seen the trailer, I knew at some point or another the husband was going to die, and I was kind of waiting for it to happen. And I will admit, if I had not seen the trailer for this movie, I think that would have been an incredibly shocking moment, and all of the build up to that was really interesting. I really liked the way that they did it, and I think that overall she genuinely did just like seem terrified, like she didn't know what to do with herself, and she was in a situation that she didn't really know how to get out of. And I thought that was really interesting, and I liked the way that they kind of played that up. And then eventually, when he did die, they were in a lot of trouble, and it created a lot of issues, and there was a lot of tension. There was a really intense scene at the end of the movie where Glenn Powell has to go, he has a wire on him, and he needs to fake a conversation with her that makes it seem like she is innocent. And while he's doing that, there are 3 police officers in a van literally waiting outside to catch her if she is guilty or she confesses or anything like that. And Glenn Powell's having this conversation with her, faking out, oh my God, we need to figure out what's happening because something just happened and your husband is dead, and oh my God, what are we going to do? You're a prime suspect. And while he's doing the scene, he has a notes app up on his phone, and he's like giving her directions like, hey, pretend like you're doing this. Hey, say that you're doing this. Okay, they know about this thing. Pretend like you had no idea. Pretend like you're innocent, right? And they go through this entire like 10-minute scene, and the entire time it feels like at any given point they could accidentally blow their cover, and it's just such intense arguments. It's such intense like thinking on the fly, and it's like, even though it's not improv, because obviously this scene was probably really well scripted, it just feels like an improv nature because it's two people having to think off of the fly and yell at each other and have this fake argument, and it is so well directed, so well choreographed, so well performed. I absolutely love that scene. It might be one of my favorite scenes that I've seen in a movie so far this year. Like, that scene itself was incredible. I think that the only other scenes that really compare to it are the final scene in the movie Challengers. That's it, because I really like the Dune movie, but I don't think there's any particular scenes in Dune that stands out that much. That movie is just entirely perfect. But overall, really enjoyed this movie. I thought that it was hilarious. I thought that the love scenes were fantastic. I think that everything with Gary Johnson is also, once again, really hilarious. And I just had a really great time with this movie. I think that this is one that a lot of people are probably just going to throw on in the background and not really pay that much attention to. But trust me, if you do, you're getting a lot out of it because it is very, very entertaining. But yeah. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a final rating. I really enjoyed it. I think that Richard Linklater does an incredible job with all of his films. And I'm going to go ahead and give this one a solid 91 out of 100. It was really good. There are a lot of interesting movies coming out this month, but I will admit, this might end up being my favorite movie for the month of June because it is so good. And I really, really liked it. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Bow, bow, bow.
Back at it again, but that's irrelevant. Flow so smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.